Hello. Welcome in. Come on in. Come on in. Welcome to 1111 True Crime. Today we're going to stay in Arizona, but we're also going international to Mexico. We're going to be talking about all the updates that have been going on in the Nancy Guthrie case. But before we do, holy crap. Ex-Prince Andrew arrested. Look at this, you guys. Just going to touch on this real quick because this is huge news. Hasn't happened in my lifetime where somebody of the royal family is arrested. Listen to this.
Do you know, I was beginning to fear it might, but when it actually happens, it is an absolute bombshell. I mean, to put this into context, there has been no member of the royal family.
By the way, this is Piers Morgan talking about ex-Prince Andrew being arrested.
And they arrested in my lifetime. I'm 60 years old. If you have to go back centuries to the last time that a member of the British royal family was arrested. And this is a serious matter. If he is convicted of misconduct in public office, then the vast majority of people that receive that kind of conviction end up with a prison sentence, and the maximum sentence is life imprisonment. And this is the king's brother who remains eighth in line to the throne. So this is, like I say, an absolute bombshell. Not completely surprising, because I think the tone of the king's statement last week clearly opened the door for the police to make a move.
So Piers, just to be clear for us that don't understand, even though his royal titles were taken away, even though he was kicked out of the palace and all the state, he's not receiving a salary from the government, from the people anymore, he still remains in the line of succession?
Yeah, I know it sounds preposterous, but that is the current state of play. Now, I think it's very fanciful that he would ever...
He's eighth in line to the throne. And no matter what they do, they cannot take away his blood right as eighth in line to the throne, and he has been arrested in connection to Epstein. It wasn't involving actual say, pig Latin for those that don't know, but he did something just horrific, allegedly, which was to give Epstein private, very secure information about the British government while Prince Andrew was Prince Andrew and in office. Yep, busted. So, again, welcome in. We have a beautiful live audience, as always, because I like to go live. I don't like to edit. And as well, we have an amazing, incredible replay crew. All of you, live, replay, I love you all very much. Thank you for the great hypes, likes, subs, everything you're doing. You're putting this channel through the roof. I just never dreamed it'd go so big. But thank you, thank you. I greatly appreciate every single one of you. So without too much further ado, I'll let that sink in. Let's go say hello to a few people. Double duty today, right, Linda Beatty? Hi, Carla. Jennyville, our beautiful mods. Jennifer Swain. Debbie Gazzardo. Who else is with me this morning? A lot of you are here. Do we have somebody named Mel Gibson? Oh, Marty. Hi, Marty. You said, so how do I go about buying some of Mama D's tarot cards? You just visit 1111dex.com, and that's all you need to do. Let's see. McCarthy, welcome back. Eaton. Brian Etten. There it is. Brian Etten. Currently in Mexico, trying to see if people have heard of the case. Good idea. Excellent idea. Not sure that's where she is, but there is so much to go over. So let me just preference this by saying I have so many details. I didn't even know how to segue in between them. So what I've done is I grabbed information, but the heart of what I want to share with you today, above and beyond the lawyer for Luke stepping out and giving a statement, above and beyond sharing with you also that the online search about Nancy Guthrie and what does that really mean? Does that mean somebody really searched Nancy Guthrie's address, and did they really search Savannah's salary? We're going to find out. Polygraphs were given, DNA tests, and the reward is increased. Well, we have a little episode where I clipped a snip of the Sheriff Waffle House, and if you know, you know, nanu nanu. And then we're going to get into the most important part of my segue, my story here. And that is that we have this Friday the 13th, the day before Valentine, all hell broke loose in Tucson. Even though Luke Daly's lawyer comes out and says he's not affiliated and all this, I'll give that to you. There's some information about Luke, who was busted with Kayla together in the mid-2025, right? So not quite a year ago, 6 months ago, whatever. Her connection to human trafficking, oh my God. Okay, wait till you find out. That is what we're going to really dive deep into. And yes, so I just want to say welcome in, everybody. We're going to be focused on Nancy Guthrie today, but I will be covering more and more about the Epsom salt files, as well as ex-Prince Andrew being busted, right? Like, he looks pretty screwed, but is he really going to get served time, or will this be dismissed? I don't know. We're going to find out as we go. So, hey, Smudger, welcome in. Hey, Kim, how are you? Good to see you. Love your channel, you and your reads. Thank you, my lovely. Thank you. Yes, we're going to be doing a reading today. We're going to try and find out if Nancy is in Mexico. Then we're going to hand it over to our beautiful PIs today and let them ask all the questions that they have. Marty says, good afternoon, Private Eyes. Have a blessed day. Well, thank you, lovely. Appreciate you. Cheryl Ferris in the house. Hello, Mama D, Carla, Jennifer, and Smudger. Hello, lovely. All right, you guys, let's just jump in with both feet. We're going to be talking about these searches online of Nancy Guthrie. So, allegedly, remember the date, January 11th, when we heard that the Sheriff's Department was asking the neighbors of Nancy Guthrie to check their ring cams for the date, January 11th. Well, that's kind of haunting, right? Stuck with us. However, then the sheriff came out and said, the Sheriff's Department was like, no, we want everything from January 1st to February 2nd. But February 1st was when Nancy Guthrie was taken, but January 11th had to have been something for them to look into that. However, when we go and we listen to what's being said to us, keep in mind, there's so much info that people just assume means something, but really doesn't mean that somebody actually did search that, because it doesn't. It does not mean that a person physically searched up Nancy Guthrie's account, her address, or Savannah's salary based on the Google's trending app. Now, if the FBI went and looked into it and they would have made a statement, which they didn't, I'd be feeling different. But even those reporters that have been really doing their homework have done a dig into what Google Trend means. And it can produce, when there's, how do I want to put it? When there's a query, a question asked, it can produce a white noise result if it's an insignificant number. Who knows what they consider insignificant? Maybe below 10, maybe below 1,000 searches. I don't know. But it can produce a noise, a white noise, kind of false hit. And so without the FBI saying that this is a fact, we really cannot go by that. We can't use that, what Fox reported, which was that, it had definitely been blah, blah, blah. No. All right. So I went over and I found it wonderful because Ashley Banfield makes it very
Michael
clear.
Ruiz from Fox Digital posted on X.
Whoops, sorry.
So Michael Ruiz from Fox Digital posted on X. Somebody searched for Nancy Guthrie's address and her famous daughter's salary before the Today host's mother vanished. Jesus, that's big. Google data shows this, he says. He's talking about Google Trends. that shows like searching patterns, who searches for what when. He goes on to say it is not clear that the searches are connected to one another or to her suspected abduction. So he's very clear that, look, I'm seeing what I'm seeing, but I don't know that it's connected. But the time of one of the searches, January 11th, remember that date? Michael Ruiz says it aligns with the time frame that was specified in a Ring app post from a neighbor calling on locals to turn in video taken that evening between 9 p.m. and midnight. Remember, we were all wondering, why January 11th? What would that have been? And then everything changed, right? They changed and said, no, January 1st all the way to, Feb 1. But January 11th. The timing of one of the searches. So now I went to the website and I read the full Fox News report. It said Google Trends records show there was one search for Guthrie's address in the Catalina foothills between June 21st and the 28th, 2025. It's a year ago, right? By somebody in Arizona. The address was searched again once on January 11th, 2026. The January 11th date also surfaced in a message on the RingCam app, posted on Feb 12th, asking neighbors to share a video between 9 and midnight, as well as on January 31st. So this is something else they report on the Fox website. There were also two separate Google image searches for Nancy's address in Arizona. One was sometime between March 1st and 8th, 2025, and another between November 30th and December 1st, 2025, specifically looking for images or a map of the home. In addition to the address, in the days leading up to Nancy's disappearance, Savannah Guthrie's salary, that's in quotes, Savannah Guthrie's salary was searched from Tucson sometime between December 13th and 20th, 2025. So I just about fell over backwards thinking, oh my God. I mean, that just sounds so incredibly telling in this investigation. Can't we find the IP address of who did that? But then News Nation reached out to Google to try to get, flesh this out a little bit and say, hey,
This is the part that is the other shoe falling, where News Nation did their investigation by talking to Google rather than just assuming that they know how to read the app and what the app is producing. And in that result, you're going to hear from Ashley that there's this white noise produced when there's an insignificant result. In other words, it can be a false positive, period, just so that you get a hit. It has no weight to mean that someone actually physically searched the address, nor does it have weight that somebody actually physically searched images, an address, or anything to do with Nancy Guthrie, including whether Savannah's salary was Googled. So we need to really slow it down, and we need to understand what we're taking in, because there is a lot of misconception. Before we get back into that, I want to talk real quick about DNA. I've had a lot of research on DNA. I've done a lot. I used to work with a guy that was a DNA expert in his time when it was still in its infancy, to help me understand about the testing and how DNA was transferred. So you have to be real careful, because what they're saying is they have unknown male DNA in the home of Nancy Guthrie. However, pay close attention. It's very imperative for us to understand what type of DNA. If it's semen, that's pretty much some important DNA, because who's going to be doing that in the home? If it's blood DNA, right? If the unknown male, blood in the house, that's pretty big. If it's their spit, that puts them inside the home. All of those put this person inside the home. However, if it's touch DNA, it's called transfer DNA, another form of it, which means this. If someone wrote a letter and the postman touched that letter and gave it to the neighbor, delivering it to where it's supposed to go. Then he touches Nancy Guthrie's letter and puts it in her mailbox. She goes and gets it, or whoever, brings the letter in the house. We have unknown male DNA in the home of Nancy Guthrie that is actually her neighbor's friend that lives in Kalamazoo, that the postman transferred the DNA. So it's kind of like wet paint. You touch it and you spread it to the next person. They touch it, they leave it somewhere else, and it's not direct DNA, it's transfer. That's the biggest problem. Is this transfer DNA, blood DNA, spit, urine, semen? What kind of DNA? Biological evidence is an umbrella for all of it. We need to understand it better. Next point on DNA. This drives me crazy. I've been hearing over and over and over, well, the person's never been in Codex or they would have found him. Stop it. Number one, how do you even know that that is the same person? How do you know there weren't multiple people there and the masked guy didn't leave his DNA? If there were multiple people, how come they don't have several unknown male DNAs? Perhaps the perp didn't leave his DNA at the scene of the crime. Perhaps they're working over here their ass off on this unknown male DNA, and perhaps that's touch DNA that the mailman dropped off from the writer to the neighbor in Kalamazoo. We don't know. You can't tell me that I better leave Luke Daly alone because his lawyer spoke out. Excuse me, that's the lawyer's job, is to make everybody understand he's innocent, right? How innocent is he? We don't know, because they're still got that Range Rover and the evidence is still being processed. And I heard the sheriff say it yesterday that there is still evidence from that situation on the 13th of February still being processed, that there's nobody cleared. So you really need to take a step back until you understand it. You can't tell somebody else how they need to think or how we need to research. You can form your own opinion and go, well, I'm ruling him out because he wasn't in CODIS. Well, if he's not in CODIS, that we don't know if the perp is in CODIS, because they may not even have his DNA. I'm just saying. Now, when you find out that there's human trafficking, being careful with YouTube, that is directly connected to Kayla, who is directly connected to Luke Daly, it just heightens my suspicion when I'm hearing that the feds are headed off to talk to the Mexican authorities to have them watch to see if Nancy Guthrie may have been kidnapped and abducted and taken off to Mexico. We have Brian Inton allegedly headed that way to ask some questions, or already there. Even JLR, who loves to cover the border, right, is all about, Mexico. What is it, hour and a half? You're in Mexico from Nancy Guthrie's house? So there's a lot there to really consider. But that Google search doesn't mean that someone actually Googled any of that information, because if they are using, which Fox News states that they're using this Google Trends app, then they're looking at possibly a false positive hit. And when Google is saying that it's white noise, most likely, and that if they, and they're even going on to say to Ashley, and if you need us to explain how it can be a false positive, we'll literally make a statement for you. So let's go back and listen to Ashley and see what she has to share.
What do you know about this? And Google had some really interesting things to say. It's a little complicated, so I am going to read their words exactly. So follow along. Okay, Google said, we're actively trying to get corrections in the Fox piece, as there are some fundamental misunderstandings and inaccuracies in what was reported. Key facts for you to know. Again, this is Google to News Nation. Google Trends does not, underlined in bold, show actual volume of queries. So the suggestion that an individual person did a given search is not something you can claim via the Google Trends tool. That's interesting. Then underlined, very important, they say. For queries with very low or even no search volume at all, Google Trends charts will show statistical noise.
Whoa. So for very low results, Google app automatically will show statistical noise, nonsense reports. You feel me? Nonsense reports. McCarthy says, I think the TMZ releasing the second ransom yesterday is part of why they have eyes on Mexico now. Could be. We're going to get into that. Who is Kayla? Very important that you understand who Kayla is, and we're going to get into that very quickly. I just want to continue we have a lot to go. So remember, as I said, on the 13th of February, Friday the 13th, there was a bust. Okay? It didn't amount in an arrest. However, 3 people were allegedly detained. It was a mother, a son, and then also this person named Luke Daly. Now, Luke Daly was... Okay, let me back up. FBI feds, all these people came crashing down on this house in a very nice neighborhood. And it turned out to be the place where Luke Daly lived. Why that's important is because at the very same time that this all happened, Luke and his brother, I heard it from the sheriff, Luke and his brother tore off out of there and were both detained at separate traffic stops. The white van had Luke's brother Matthew, who's older by about 4 years, detained, and he was detained for a little bit, the white van, which is interesting. How's a white van tying back to Luke then, right? White van's been very curious. When you look at January 11th, white van, somebody in the neighborhood said suspicious white van was at Nancy Guthrie's on, not February 11th, January 11th, the day, and everybody's like, what about January 11th, right? Same time that's going on, the white van, Luke, the brother, Luke Daly, is detained in the Culver's parking lot because it caught him. Both of them tore off out of the house. And so they went back, and the mother and someone else were detained over here while the house was swatted. Meanwhile, they went on a manhunt. They have detained and pulled over at a traffic stop Lucas and his brother at a separate traffic stop. So we have the white van, and then Lucas is in a Range Rover. They detain them both, then they release them both, release all of the people. However, they did not release the Range Rover that Luke was driving. In fact, they impounded it and were doing evidence collection in front of our eyes behind the yellow sheet. Meanwhile, we go dig into this guy because we're like, who the hell is Luke Daly? And it come to find out that he was busted in the middle of last year, about 6 months ago. He was busted in the Walmart. Remember all these Walmart things this perp is wearing? Luke Daly was busted in the Walmart parking lot with a female in the car. She had a backpack with an AR pew-pew in it and thought, enough to share 30 some, I can't remember how much money, $1,300 or something like that. He has all kinds of bad stuff on him. Their phones are seized, they're busted, all this. They're back out on the street right away. It's pathetic. Anyway, so we're all like, what about Kayla? That's interesting. Come to find out, the girl that Luke was busted with, that was in that Walmart parking lot back in the middle of 2025, she gets busted because she had warrants for her arrest previously, was on the lam, running away from the law, right? Great upstanding citizens, not. She gets busted on February 12th, the night before this all happens, with the SWAT at Luke's home. Now, Luke's dad passed away, but his mother, who's 74 years old, is living at the house. She was just allowed to sit over at a neighbor's house while her house was swatted. So Kayla has a tie directly to Luke. We know that, previously being busted together. And then when Luke gets detained the night before, Kayla got busted. So you bet your bottom dollar we're all looking at Kayla going, what's going on? So now that I brought you up to speed, we have Luke Daly's lawyer has made a statement. And Ashley's about to share it with you.
So Michael Ruiz from Fox Digital posted on X, somebody searched for Nancy Guthrie's address and her famous daughter's salary before the Today host's mother vanished.
I gave you the wrong screen. But before I go any further, I forgot to tell you something. It wasn't just a few days before this lawyer is about to tell us that Luke has nothing to do with Nancy Guthrie. Luke's other car that has been sitting in his driveway that we were all like, what's that about? Let me go find it. Was also towed. Now, we don't know, did they tow it to fix it? Or was this a search warrant and it's seized and impounded? We don't know, but this was sitting in his driveway. This is a picture I snapped, a screenshot off of Brian Enton going up to the house to knock on the door. And this is where Luke Daly lived. So now let me go back and give you the right story, still with Ashley Banfield. And this is the lawyer's statement. Here we go.
He has had a lot of good reporting. And she put out a report from the attorney for the man who was detained Friday night last week. Remember, the house was raided, and then nearby a guy was grabbed and detained, and there was a silver Range Rover. Still don't know what the heck happened to that. Yeah, they were like putting up the privacy screens to open the back, hatch, and then towed it off on a flatbed. Still don't know what happened with that. But that guy's lawyer put out a statement. And because there's been a lot of people like shredding the guy who was detained, I don't know why his lawyer put his name out, but I'm just going to call him. Just in from the attorney for the man detained Friday night. His law firm can confirm that he was the subject of 2 search warrants issued and served on February 13th, 2026. He and his mother were both detained by law enforcement while the search warrants were being executed. Neither this man nor his mother were arrested in connection to this case or any other. He has no link whatsoever to Nancy Guthrie and has no information related to her kidnapping. Like the entire Tucson community, both he and his mother are hopeful that Nancy will be returned to her family unharmed. So that's the lawyer for that man. Fine.
All right. That's what his lawyer says, but I'm not quite so sure. So Brian Enton did say biological evidence, and that refers to any form of DNA. Just letting you know. So real quick, polygraphs have been given, and that's interesting. We don't know who. There's rumors that it was Carlos. I feel they need to be careful because there's rumors also that Carlos' family has yet to receive a copy of the signed search warrant and that they weren't read their rights, and so they may have started a lawsuit. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just sharing it with you. Now, good news is that the reward for Nancy Guthrie, which was originally I think it was originally 10,000 or something, but now it went from 100,000 up to 200,000 because we have another person anonymously donating another 100,000, which actually is not so anonymous. It's actually a guy out of Wisconsin, where I'm from. I'm so proud to be from Wisconsin this very moment, where he is offering up personally $100,000. I believe he has something to do with crime watching or something along those lines. Now, it may have been, maybe that car was State Farm towed for repair on that car. That could be, Kim, that very well could be. Okay, I want to get into this moment. The sheriff. Listen to this. I already had my breakfast, so this just makes me sick when he waffles like this. But he do waffle. Listen to this.
Well, here's what's crazy, Maureen. Now he's saying to...
Hold on. It's right in her way. Something going on. Aw, Sheila Beck. Thank you for that large order. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you, sweetheart.
Well, here's what's crazy, Maureen. Now he's saying to Local 13 News that the family's been 100% cooperative. He said that before. And that family members were ruled out as suspects in the first few days. Now...
Hold on, y'all. I feel bad because it's right on their face. Hold on. We'll jump it ahead.
Savannah, I can accept that. I believe she was in New York at the time her mother went missing. But if he's referring to Annie and Tomas, it's a lie. That's a lie. And we know it's a lie because we need only to look back at the sheriff's own statements. Here he is in a montage dating back since the beginning of this case in SOP 50.
Nobody's eliminated, but we just really don't have enough to say, this is our suspect, this is our guy, we know, or our gal. We just don't know that.
Are you actively investigating the son-in-law in this case? You said you haven't eliminated everybody. Have you eliminated him or come close to it?
We're actively looking at everybody we come across in this case. Everybody. It's so cliche.
What, Sheriff?
But everybody's still a suspect in our eyes. That's just how we look at things and
Beg
think
your pardon?
as cops. Does that mean we have
Thank
a
you,
prime
Kim.
suspect? No, and the family's been very cooperative.
Thank you, Mocha.
They've done everything we've asked of them, and we want that relationship to continue. And sometimes people can be mean out there, and that can really harm us and harm our efforts.
Weird, Maureen. That doesn't sound the same to me as all of the family members have been ruled out as suspects from day one.
No, it doesn't. And he acts as if we're all being unreasonable for even questioning whether or not Nancy or Annie and her husband are involved, when, as I've said numerous times, and all of us on this panel here, we've done a number of rollback warrants to different locations, but I've never done 6 on one location. I mean,
wow.
We're the ones following the facts. When law enforcement shows up at a house over and over and over and seizes a vehicle, and then the one, her husband, Tommaso's been completely out of pocket. No one has seen him since that day he did like that, the gangster lean in his car trying to get away from the press. We're not the ones being unreasonable here.
She nailed it. That gangster lean to get in his car. Remember Annie having her little hoodie over her head? That's the last we saw of Tommaso, right? Makes you wonder. It makes you do some thinking. So let's listen to this again.
You are
Maybe you've seen this.
100%. You are 100% certain that there is no connection between the kidnapping and the siblings or the sibling spouses, the Guthrie siblings.
I am completely, I think we put out a statement yesterday. I put it out. 100% certain that this family has been completely victimized. And the re-victimization should not occur, ever.
No, Jim, you are a linguist. No, none of it works.
None of it does work, and these exonerations always bother me. In the John Benet Ramsey case, the family was complete.
Hold on. Megyn Kelly pulled a Mama D. This is my move. Megyn Kelly pulled a Mama D. When I can't take anymore, I'm like, wait, no, stop it. That was priceless. You can't keep going back and forth and back and forth. It's stupid. Oh, God, I feel so bad for the prosecution. When they have to try this, they're going to have a jury that's going, but the sheriff is the one that's sad. Oh, my golly, y'all. Oh, my golly. Jacqueline Keeley, welcome to Private Eyes, my lovely. I think it's welcome back, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Elizabeth says that sheriff knows something and he don't want to be next to disappear. Maybe. They were playing. No one was kidnapped. Yes, we covered the entire story in depth yesterday. It was about Savannah Guthrie's book. We'll get back into this story. But I will show you the book real quick and what we covered. It's called Mostly What God Does. Go ahead, watch yesterday's live where we broke it down. We don't have 3-hour lives, so it's pretty short, and you'll be able to find out all the information about how they played. Savannah and Annie were playfully kidnapped as children by their cousin Terry, and so forth. And it's a very interesting. It kind of makes you wonder, right? But when we get into this, possibly taken to Mexico. Listen to this.
Is telling News Nation that the FBI contacted Mexican authorities in connection to the Nancy Guthrie case. It comes as the reward for any information leading to the arrest has spiked yet again. An additional $100,000 donated by an anonymous source yesterday. News Nation's Jessica Cartelia is live for us once again there in Tucson. So Jessica, authorities now looking at the possibility that Guthrie could have been taken across the border into Mexico, even though the sheriff, it seems to be, is saying otherwise.
This is crazy. He waffles so bad.
There's some conflicting words here, as per usual, it seems, in this investigation, Nicole. There seems to be some leads telling us that they may be investigating down across the border, south of the border. A source close to the investigation tells News Nation the FBI has contacted Mexican authorities in connection with this case. However, the Attorney General of the state of Sonora just released a statement saying that they have not to date received any formal requests for collaboration, assistance, or exchange of information. However, this tells us that investigators are casting a wider net and are following leads that take them across the border at some point. You can see on this map, the Guthrie's home here in the Catalina foothills of Tucson is just about 75 miles.
A direct
that's
route,
about an hour and a half drive to the border
miles.
crossing at Nogales. Arizona sees an average of 8,000 people coming here into the U.S. at that border crossing every day. Strict checks, or I should say, let me specify all border crossings into Arizona. Strict checks are typically done coming into our country, but it's very easy to travel south into Mexico without needing to be stopped. I want to take a look at another map now. This map of the border wall, you can see there's about a 100-mile stretch without a wall there. So that
I'm just going to stop this reporter. If they had to go across rugged terrain to take Nancy into Mexico through this border thingy, where the border's down and, where JLR has showed us the fencing, then Nancy wasn't alive when they did that, because they're not going to be taking no 84-year-old Nancy across the desert to get through a broken part of the wall. And then some of these reporters don't realize that Nancy would be the one that they're taking across the border if they're going to... No. So did they contact Mexico or not? Allegedly, yes. But then we're hearing no. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it sounds like it is being looked into. It sounds like the feds are asking them to keep an eye on things down in Mexico in case somebody took Nancy into Mexico. I just realized I didn't have my big light on, so I've been in the dark with you as well, because we don't have answers. TMZ live with us. Here you go.
The FBI has
Fair
reached out
use.
to federal Mexican law enforcement officials, asking them to spread the word to local police agencies to be on the lookout for Nancy Guthrie and her kidnapper. We know that so far they have not yielded any results from this, but there are some operating theories that are interesting, one of which is we are told law enforcement does not believe that she was immediately taken, if at all taken, but immediately taken to Mexico.
Right. And so it could have been done a couple of days later, although what we're told is that they've checked cameras, they've used cameras at the border, they've been going back through all the footage, they have not seen any sign of Nancy. Now, of course, they also realize that there are other ways that she could have been brought across the border.
There were also other electronic devices, and we're not going to get specific, but we're told there were other ways that they were electronically trying to figure this out, and they couldn't.
Right.
So they don't know. They don't know
so
what
far that
Mr.
hasn't yielded anything, but it is interesting that they are looking at that as a possibility. As you recall, one of the notes that we got had said that Nancy was seen in Mexico last Wednesday.
And we
What? Since when and why haven't we heard that before? He just throws it out real casual. Oh, yeah, Harvey, remember last week when one of the notes that we got said that Nancy was seen in Mexico last Wednesday? What? That's wild.
That they said, one of the notes said, I know where she is, you're going to go international.
Right.
So Mexico has been floated. They don't know. They said, look, we don't think she was taken there at all. She was not taken there immediately, but they just don't know.
And keep in mind, just
we're going there.
This is Tucson is very close.
We're
to the
going
border,
there.
About an hour and 15 minutes away from the border. So.
Oh, thank you. All right. What you've waited for. This is on Fugitive TV. Please go give him a lot of love. I've watched him quite a few times. He did excellent work in many cases, and he definitely deserves a pat on the back and a hit of a like, as well as slap that subscribe button if you would for him. And he just put it in such a good nutshell, I couldn't leave it alone. And yes, it's interesting you'd ask about a pendulum reading, because I was messing with my pendulum last night and this morning asking questions, and it's just so hard to get a camera angle to where you can see my hand, which has to be way up here, and the bottom of the pendulum. So I'll have to set it up, but I've been doing some thinking on how to do that, and that might be where we go, because it's worked great in the pendulum readings for me. Worked great in Harmony Montgomery's case, and very interesting in the Summer Wells case. So, with that being said, I've now shared with you who Kayla is. Remember, busted with Luke daily in the Walmart parking lot. They still have Luke's Range Rover, still processing it for information and evidence, allegedly. But then, it's so interesting because Kayla was busted on the 12th of February, and Luke turns out being detained on the 13th, the day after, and his Range Rover impounded. So, what we're about to learn about Miss Kayla, little Miss Kayla's husband, just blows my mind. He has been charged and found guilty and been sent to prison. However, he only got an 11-year prison sentence, and this goes back to 2010. He could be out. He would be out, I believe. This man went to prison for human trafficking, and she's telling in her Facebook that she married to him. And he's doing human trafficking from Mexico to Arizona. He killed manslaughter, but in a trying to get away from the cops, he hit a car, killing an 80-year-old woman. Listen to all this. This is wild. And again, hats off to Fugitive TV.
Got busted together, supposedly, in a Walmart parking lot, all right?
She's talking about Luke and Kayla.
Marana Police...
Whoops, sorry, y'all.
Got busted together, supposedly, in a Walmart parking lot, all right?
William H. is the shot caller, says the suit.
Marana
Could be.
Police Department did a stop in a Walmart lot. They found fentanyl pills.
Wait
and
for
I never
this,
heard of this
TK
one. Sobanox, I don't know what that is. A 9mm AR pistol cash that was $1,366. And then they found evidence that they were trying to sell drugs on the text. Okay?
This is just screaming to me.
So these two already have a connection from last year. Now, let me show you this. Kayla, okay, she was arrested on February 12th, 2026. Now, she was arrested a day before the SWAT team raided that house and a day before, the Range Rover was pulled over with Luke inside the Range Rover. Do you know why this could matter? Why this could be a key asset? Right now, Kayla O'Day is she's still incarcerated with no bond. Right here, it says total bond. 0 people, no bond. Okay? Now
I'm going to take a break here. I want you to look at something. Right here is her booking number, which I find so inquisitive. We were told that she was booked, arrested on the 12th of February. I'm confused because it says here on the booking number, the 26th is the year, right? First 2 digits says, let me make it bigger. Right here, the 26th, that's the year. 02, February, right? 14th, right? The 14th. So she would have been busted technically, or booked, I guess. Ugh. This all gets crazy. I just snorted with frustration. She would have been booked technically, according to this, on the 14th. The same day as the Range Rover gets impounded and Luke gets detained. But yet we have her on actually 2 days prior that it was 11 p.m. when they picked her up. So did they hold her for 48 hours before booking her? Kayla is married to who? Okay, you're going to get into it. We're going to get into
no bond
it.
part could be maybe she's on probation or parole. I mean, we saw her charges. So maybe she's on probation or parole. That's probably why she doesn't have a bond right now.
Pay attention.
But they could be using this as a tactic, okay? And I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm going to explain to you what the tactic could be. But before we go there, look at this. This is Kayla again. Now, I showed you her Facebook. These pictures came from her Facebook. Now you're asking yourself, this is not Luke. Who's this guy?
Who's that guy, y'all? Who's that guy? That is her husband, the one that has the criminal history for human trafficking from Mexico to Mexico, doing the, what? I can't. This is killing me. Right, his name is William, yes. Yeah, she's with Luke, but she alleged that she's married to this other guy. I don't know. Because she skipped bail, maybe. Please don't use all caps because I have dyslexia, and without the letter changing shape, it just all blurs into a block. I can't read it. D says the sheriff is horrible. Are you talking about Sheriff Waffle House? I feel like he wants to prolong capturing anyone because he loves being on TV. You could be right. He does love being on TV. Linda said she is not married to Luke and she may be married to someone else. Yeah. All right. Let's continue, y'all.
On her Facebook, this guy goes by a different name. He goes by the name of, it's right here, Mick Knox.
Mick
on
Knox.
Facebook. That's not his real name.
That's not his real name.
Now, right here it says Kayla No on Facebook. Her name is Kayla No Day in jail since 2000. And I'm sorry, in jail since 12. Has a criminal record. Her boyfriend is William Ken.
Just wait.
All right. Now he did 10 years in federal prison. He did 10 years in federal prison. Now wait till you find out what he did the time for. Of course, I'm going to show you.
Pay attention.
All right, William Moody. Ken Hoobie, born around 1984, 1985, is a man from Tucson, Arizona, known primarily for his 2016 federal conviction related to human smuggling. Okay? And Jerry.
Okay, hold on. He was convicted in 2016 of human smuggling. I didn't say snuggling. I said smuggling. Here's the thing. It's 2026. It's 10 years later. We know that often if they're sentenced for 11 years, they get out much sooner. So is this dude out and about? Where is this dude? This William Hubby. William Hubby. Full name, William Ken Hubby. Born around 1984, 1985, from Tucson, Arizona. Known primarily for his 2016 federal conviction related to human smuggling, specifically alien smuggling, transportation of unauthorized immigrants. Back and forth to the border. Back and forth to the border, right? Kayla, did you, before we get to this, I want you to go back. I want you to look at Kayla's pictures. Let me just do this real quick, and then we'll get back into all about her alleged hubby. Okay. Whoops. We'll have to go back to it in just a minute. You see this? She's very fond of guns. She was busted with an AR. All right, let's go back into it. Where is it? Right here. Let's grab the next one. This one's so disturbing. I don't even know what to think about this. I mean, in true crime, especially Idaho 4 case, there was some moments where I was like, oh God, those are some horrible pictures. But look at this girl. Licking the blade of a knife, dressed up like some sort of, anime character. All right, let's go back. Let's get the next picture. Oh, I can't even show that one. She's got, okay, I'm going to anyway. I'll just do it real quick. You look, and then I'm going to delete it. I don't want to get in any trouble. Okay. Whoops, what did I do? Maybe I didn't catch it. Okay. I'm just going to show it to you real quick, and then we'll get it out there. So if you saw it, you saw it, right? If you know, you know. All right, let's get back into this. This is actually right off the U.S. Attorney General's office. Listen to this.
UB had previously pleaded guilty to transportation of illegal aliens resulting in death. His co-defendant, Robert Evan Butcher, 26, also of Tucson, Arizona, was previously sentenced to 48 months in prison. That's, I think, 4 years. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's 4 years. On January 8, 2015, UB was driving a car on a 2-lane road outside Three Points, Arizona. He and a co-defendant, Robert Evan Butcher Jr., were smuggling 2 unauthorized aliens towards Tucson. UB panicked, and when he recognized an unmarked Border Patrol unit, fled at an extremely high rate of speed. UB recklessly swerved into the oncoming rush hour traffic and collided head-on with another motorist. The passenger in the car, an 80-year-old woman, was killed instantly. The victim's daughter, who was the driver, sustained massive injuries. So we know this is not a lie. This is coming from the United States Attorney's Office itself. And once again, that would be with this person, okay? Now, you're going to ask yourself, if this is her supposedly man, it says on Facebook that they're married. I highly doubt they're married, but I mean, it could be. And this is the guy who was in a Range Rover, okay, Luke Daly, and these are his charges in his past: drug paraphernalia 2, drug paraphernalia, endangerment, okay? So her past is actually worse than his. But why was she, okay, why was Kayla with Luke, who just got arrested or detained, and his Range Rover got seized? Why did they get busted together last year, almost a year ago, when she's supposed to be dating this guy? Well, maybe because this guy was in prison, people.
Okay. You see where I'm coming from? That's all I got for you today. I'm just saying, so much to really think about. Kraken, welcome to our private eyes. Private eyes. And you get to use it today. Make sure and jump in and ask all the questions you would like on our private eyes special. I would love for you to join us, as well as we had another private eye, Jacqueline Keeley. Jump in, make sure and use your perks, right? Range Rover is not Luke's. It's at Luke's property. He was driving it. I don't care if it was his or not. The Range Rover was purchased on the 23rd of January. Maybe it was a brother, I don't know. I know he was driving it according to everything that's being shared, including his lawyer. Yeah, the lady that he hit running away from the cop, we're talking about that William guy that is Kayla's alleged husband, was 80 years old and she died instantly. Lori Sparks, nothing burger as usual. You mean me? Well, then why are you here? I don't know. Luke Daly went to school with Savannah. That's scary and possible. That would be very concerning. You know, they should look up her classmates like that, see if any of them are criminals. Vibrations from a mirror. We really need to find out the other 50 clients. I'm not sure what that means. About 50 clients, lovely. Range Rover is Williams. You think it's his? Luke was driving Williams' car? That would be, oh my golly, that would be wild. That would be wild. Lot to think on. I will be back with you as soon as we have more details. You know I'm going to keep you updated. This has been just a wild ride in this case so far. I'm praying for Nancy, and I wish you all absolutely the very best as we go forward in this case. Remember, take a step back from true crime if you are having a hard time emotionally. You can always come back the next day once you've had a chance to recharge. Now, with that being said, thank you for the likes, the hypes, the shares, everything you would like to do that supports the channel. You guys amaze me. I am so thankful. As well as we're about to jump over, do the time will begin. Pull some cards, find out, number one, is Nancy really in Mexico? And if so, why? And if not, where is she? Now, I believe she's closer to home, so this will be an interesting read. But I also want to find out more about that King of Wands person that's a lover with someone else, a feminine. I picture every time I pull cards, the cards are talking about this couple. Have I got it wrong in the past? Is it really that there's layers leading up to some main characters? In other words, is there this low-level thug group that got hired to do something to Nancy in order for some people that are closer to Nancy to inherit money or life insurance or a will? I don't know. I want to find out together. And then we're going to give it to the PIs to ask questions after that. So, if tarot is not your thing, you don't like pulling cards, then just skip this step. And I will see you again tomorrow. And if you are continuing on with me, I greatly appreciate it. And I will see you in just a few moments. I love you. Always and forever. To the moon and back. Mwah.
From the dust I was born, to the dirt I shall return. When my eyes are closed, in the shadows, my enemies will think they won, but I am here to stay. Destiny will overcome, no, I am not afraid. Like a phoenix in the night, my soul will rise. From the darkness to the light, I feel alive. I'm a fire, burning bright, I'll never die. Like a phoenix.